Hi, my name's Emily Tibbetts and my pronouns are she and her. I live in Victoria, BC, Canada. The endometriosis symptoms I experienced were extremely heavy, irregular, and painful periods, painful ovulation, bloating, migraines, bowel and bladder pain, food sensitivities, fatigue, brain fog, mood swings, and just a wide spread of pain from my abdominal, jaw, legs, tailbone, sacrum, as well as vaginal. I really felt inflamed everywhere, especially my muscles, connective tissues, and nerves. They were very inflamed and they were impacting my ability to walk, go to the washroom, stand for long, and sit comfortably. Some of my symptoms were constant and others would get worse when I'd ovulate up until my period was done. I'd always say I had 2 good weeks in a month where my pain was a lot more manageable. I started to have chronic pain at 10. I hadn't had my period yet, but that's when I was in puberty and I started to notice every day my tailbone and sacrum hurt. I also had GI issues, got sick very easily, and was tired all the time. I went to the doctor and he said that I may have IBS, but other than that, I was just very sensitive and I was probably just looking for attention, which was obviously really hard to hear, and it really impacted me. It impacted me greatly. So once I got my period at 13, I noticed a pattern that the day before and the day of my period, my legs wouldn't work properly and my tailbone sacrum pain would be worse. I'd also get migraines and have flu-like symptoms on the first day. And by 17, I went to a gyno to talk about my chronic pain and that each year my period was getting heavier and more painful. When I went to the gyno at 17, that was the first time I ever heard endometriosis. He said I may have endo, but an IUD would fix it. I was only told I probably produce too much estrogen, and the IUD will even that out and possibly stop my periods. No discussion on diet, ideal lifestyle, or about lesions or adhesions. He made it seem like the IUD would cure it. So for 2 years, things were better. I was still in pain, but it was a lot more manageable. But after 2 years on the IUD, my period came back and it intensified my symptoms. I moved at this time, so I went to another doctor and she told me I probably didn't have endo and that it was all mental. So for many years, I thought all my symptoms were just mental because once again, I was being told it's all in my head and who am I to disagree with the doctor? So I started to believe it. At 21, I had my IUD removed and all my symptoms were getting even worse. But I didn't want to go to the doctor to be told it's all mental. So I ignored my pain and my symptoms until I couldn't ignore them anymore. At 25, I started to visit the hospital a lot and was in intense pain and had really worrisome symptoms. The doctor predicted I had Norwalk that then turned into an infection in my whole GI system. Once the infections finally passed, I noticed my whole system was even more messed up. I couldn't eat solid foods, I was having rectal bleeding if I ate certain foods, and my period had stopped at this point. But now that the infection had passed, nothing was coming up on my test results anymore, and I was once again being told my symptoms were all in my head and that I just needed to eat more and go to therapy. I found a new doctor, and after each test came back fine, other than I had a 4-centimeter cyst on my right ovary, and I had high counts of white blood cells in my pee. But my doctor suggested that I probably have fibromyalgia and IC, and I was referred to a rheumatologist, and I felt like my doctor had kind of closed the case. So I went down the journey of supporting a system with fibromyalgia and IC. I went to naturopath, nervous system chiro, physio, and acupuncture, and all this did help get my gut back to its normal, and my periods did finally return. And I learned from a naturopath that I'm sensitive to produce foods high in hormones, histamines, and inflammation. Once I got my gut back on track, I brought up my periods to everyone I was seeing because they were now even more painful, irregular, and heavy. And I even started to see a pelvic floor physio, but no one mentioned endometriosis to me or educated me on what it really was. Everyone focused on mental aspects and saying my symptoms were psychosomatic. Then I got COVID, and after that my period felt like giving birth. All my symptoms exacerbated. I noticed after each infection my periods got worse. Sometimes I would be immobile for 8 hours stuck on the toilet, feeling like I had the flu and was giving birth, unable to stand or walk. This went on for a few years until my doctor finally referred me to a gyno. When I saw the gyno, she validated my symptoms were 95% chance endo. She also told me about lesions, adhesions, and validated my food allergies probably being connected to endo. She suggested I start with Vizan, which is a kind of endometriosis medication here in Canada that will control the lesions and will stop your period. And then she wanted to see, after I got used to this medication, if we needed to schedule a surgery that would actually diagnose me with endometriosis. So 6 months later, I did have surgery after my diagnosis. The medication gave me awful side effects, but the gyno encouraged me to keep taking them and that it takes usually about a year for the meds to even out. But the pain was getting worse and now impacting my mobility and ability to sit daily. So she scheduled surgery where she removed a 5-centimeter benign cyst on my ovary and did excision surgery on white lesions in my pelvic cavity, mainly lining the left side and between my bladder and uterus. She said it was hard to say what level of endo I had since the medication had been doing its job to minimize lesions, and she believed I should have a much better quality of life, especially since I didn't have any adhesions and no organs had to be removed. So in her books, I was really lucky and that this was a really simple, closed case. And you know what? A few days after surgery, I was feeling a lot better. The meds had evened out, the side effects were gone, and I no longer had my period. I felt structurally more aligned and like my whole body's inflammation was going down. But after a few weeks after the surgery, I went out into the world and I guess I walked too much or I moved too much. But in my opinion, it wasn't too much, it was amount that everyone my age was moving at. But it did cause my whole body to seize up by the end of the day, and my chronic pain was back and was much worse, and I now needed to use a mobility aids daily. After surgery, my gyno said my current symptoms could not be because of endo or the surgery. I asked to see a neurologist and she said no. To me, it felt like my nerves were inflamed, but she said that couldn't be true based on what she saw and did during surgery. So I felt helpless, and then I turned to BC Women's Hospital Endo Clinic as kind of like my last resort here in Canada. And when I was filling out the forms, it said that they do not help people whose main issues are nerves, back pain, and fascia issues. So I really didn't know what to do. I was losing out on promotions at work, I had to cut back my hours, and I was having to navigate life with a walker to help me get out of the house and try to have a normal life at 31 years old. But thankfully, I found the PRM clinic on Google. After doing lots of research of what's available across Canada and finding nothing, I started considering going to America or to Europe. I had a few doctors in mind that I wanted to see in the States, but when I read about this clinic, I knew I had to consider it. Honestly though, I was really tired of being poked at, and at first I really did not want to do treatment. But I also didn't want to go to a doctor and be doing trial and error with medications and having awful side effects. So I went on the website and sent my info to set up a free 15-minute consultation. And I'm so glad I took that leap of faith to set up that phone call. From all the info on the website and after my chat with Dr. O, I knew this is what I needed to do, and I knew that this was going to help. After my phone call, I got an email from Kristen, who works the front desk at the LA clinic. She was so helpful and answered all my questions leading up to my in-person assessment. Being from Canada, I had a lot of worries, but the team was always able to find solutions. I felt so supported by everyone. The whole team at the LA clinic is so amazing. I've never felt so validated or understood at a medical office before. I just knew after the first meeting in the LA clinic with Denise that I was in the right place. And throughout the month of treatment, I continued to feel supported and like I was finally seeing experts of endometriosis. Denise even mentioned hypermobility Ehlers-Danlos to me, which is a condition other doctors have questioned if I had. So learning more about EDS and how it makes endo worse really helped me better understand my body. I'm forever thankful for the time and kindness they took into my care. It's something I've never experienced. And to be told it's not in my head, it's been in my pelvis, has been healing in so many ways, mentally and physically. I'm feeling good. I did need to do 2 rounds of treatment, and it's being considered if I need to do a third. But I no longer use a walker daily, and I just need to use a cane when walking outside. I feel stronger every day, and my pain went from a 10 out of 10 daily to ranging from a 3 to 6 out of 10 daily. And when I have a flare-up, it's usually 8 out of 10 pain scale, where before it was beyond the pain scale when I had a flare-up. So I'm still considered in rehabilitation, and over the next few months, I know that pain number will go down, and I'm finally seeing results in pelvic floor physio, which is something that I've never experienced before. I went to physio for 5 years before, and before the surgery and this treatment, was never seeing any results. My PFPT is so impressed with how much this treatment has actually helped me regain normal muscle control, and I'm so happy to finally be getting positive results from seeing a physical therapist. It feels like my time, as well as my investment, my money is finally paying off from this treatment. It has just helped regain normalcy within my nerves and muscles. It's been a long journey. I've been in chronic pain and going to doctors since I was very young, but this is also very common. People know their bodies, and practitioners need to listen to their patients. This could greatly cut down on the years people with endo are in pain with no answers other than it's in your head. Painful periods are not normal, and when they get worse while someone is doing all the right work, it's a huge sign that it's not mental. Not enough people know about endometriosis, and I wish more people would admit that instead of trying to tell the person who's suffering that they're the problem. How could this not cause a huge impact on someone's mental state? I don't think doctors and physical therapists consider how much they create trauma, and maybe a lot of those psychosomatic stuff they're picking up on, maybe it's from years of being told it's in your head when we, the patient, know it's not. This created years of me being disconnected from my body because people of authority were not listening to me. So this treatment really helped not only physically but mentally, because I know I was always right. I wish when I was 17 I was told about an endo diet, adhesions, lesions, and lifestyle changes instead of being told an IUD would fix endo. I wish I was told it's a whole body inflammation condition, whole body, including the nerves. And the sad thing is I know that's a lot of people's experiences. To be dismissed until the condition is so bad that it cannot be dismissed anymore, leading so many people to miss out on a lot of life milestones and have tons of medical debt, which all could have been avoided if we were properly educated and encouraged to research more about endometriosis. But I am very thankful for the Pelvic Rehabilitation Medicine Clinic and all the work that they do. If you have endo or suspect that you do, I highly recommend reaching out to this clinic no matter where you live. I just want to give a big thanks to Denise, Kristen, and Salome. I miss you guys, but yeah, we'll see if I see you again, but thank you so much for all of the work that you do and all your help.